The red-hot Columbus Blue Jackets come to Montreal to take on the Canadiens. These two teams are separated by just a point in the standings, each with hardly any room to breathe as the race for the playoffs continues to heat up in the Eastern Conference. Alexandre Texier is out with a lower body injury, so Joe Veleno slots into the lineup for Montreal. Josh Anderson moves up to Texier's spot on the third line, and Joe Veleno fills that hole left by Anderson on the fourth line. Jakub Dobes gets another start for the Canadiens, while Jet Greaves gets the nod for Columbus. Greaves is 24-13-8 with a 2.57 goals against average and a .910 save percentage, while Dobes is 23-8-4 with a 288 goals against average and an .896 save percentage. It's another game and another slow start for the Montreal Canadiens. They got hemmed in, they gave up 3 early scoring chances to the Blue Jackets, who were testing Jakub Dobes early. Dobes made some really solid saves, but you'd like to see the Canadiens start a game off with a little bit more conviction, especially with how poorly they started the game on Tuesday night against Carolina. Montreal finally got a look, but it was Josh Anderson who has about a 1 in 50 chance of scoring on an odd man rush. Fantilli then ripped one off the post before Juraj Slafkovsky got called for holding and sent the Jackets to the power play. And if there's one weakness to Slafkovsky's game of late, it's the sheer volume of minor penalties that he takes. Montreal's penalty kill did a solid job of holding the Jackets, allowing only 1 shot on goal, and it was followed up by Jaden Struble, of all people, taking a nice pack from Zachary Bolduc. He had a ton of space, walked down low into the face-off circle, outweighted Jet Greaves, and sniped one into the Jackets' net for his first goal of the season. Another game in which the Habs didn't have the greatest of starts, but this time they kept the puck out of their own net and managed to get an early lead to work with, not having to play from behind. Just over 2 minutes later though, Lane Hudson got caught way out of position, leaving the aforementioned Jaden Struble behind to defend a 2-on-1 all on his own, and the outcome was predictable. Severson was left all alone, he closed in on Dobes and ripped one by the Canadiens netminder to draw the Jackets level at 1. It was not a good pinch there by Hudson. He has to be aware of who his partner is, as well as the numbers coming back the other way when he makes a decision like that. Another play at the offensive blue line led to an odd man rush for the Jackets, this time resulting in a Boone Jenner slap shot that Dobes was just able to block with the mask. Montreal had a glorious look of their own when Slafkovsky picked up a loose puck behind the net, fed it to Caulfield in the slot, but the Habs' leading goal scorer put the puck just wide of the net. The Canadiens won't be happy with having blown an early lead in this one, but given how much they were outplayed throughout the period, I think Montreal will happily take going into the first intermission tied at 1. Aside from maybe a 1-minute stretch halfway through the period, Columbus looked much stronger through the first, as they directed 29 shots towards the Habs net compared to just 11 by the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal had a bit of a better start to the second period, as they seemed to be making a concerted effort to direct more shots towards the net regardless of how far out they were. All in all, it was a relatively slow start to the period, as there were not many quality chances in either direction until about 5 minutes in, when Miles Wood was left all alone with space in front of Dobes, but wasn't able to solve the Czech netminder. Montreal looked much more convincing and engaged in the second period. They controlled much more of the play and they directed way more shots towards Jet Greaves. Miles Wood then went after Hudson at the Jackets bench, which resulted in a pair of offsetting minor penalties to Wood and Evans. That sent the teams to 4-on-4. And for a team that's been so strong with the extra space 3-on-3, you'd think Montreal would do well 4-on-4, but it's actually been a bit of a struggle for them this season. Once the teams got back to full strength, Montreal continued to improve and bring the shot totals closer and closer to even. After a few chances for the fourth line, a Jaden Struble point shot was actually deflected by Kapanen off of the crossbar and just out of play, coming within centimeters of putting the Canadiens ahead 2-1. The Blue Jackets had their best look shortly thereafter when Adam Fantilli drilled a one-timer that went just wide of the net. Montreal finally got their first chance with the man advantage when star defender Zach Werenski got dinged for interference for getting in the way of Josh Anderson and knocking the stick out of his hands with 5.5 minutes to go in the period. That gave the Canadiens a late opportunity to gain the lead, so the Habs' third-ranked power play went to work and got a couple of looks, highlighted by a gorgeous tic-tac-toe passing play that ended with a one-timer by Cole Caulfield that Jet Greaves read beautifully and got across to stop. Montreal got the looks, but just wasn't able to capitalize, and the Jackets killed off the penalty. Then a brutal giveaway by Caden Gooley in the offensive zone led to a breakaway the other way for Mason Marchment. And as he has done so often of late, Jakub Dobes made a massive save, getting the pad across as he sprawled out, made the save, and kept this one all tied up at 1. That chance really seemed to electrify things as both teams had some of their best looks of the period in the final minutes, with both goalies coming up huge for their respective teams. The Habs did a much better job in the second, but they weren't able to capitalize on their chances and take a lead, leaving these two teams deadlocked at 1 with 20 minutes to play. Et là, au début du troisième période, j'aimerais juste dire à tous mes amis francophones, va chier mon esti de Mike Chirona, mon calice de sans-dessin en tabarnak, que je suis tanné de tes estis de publicité de merde. Now that being said, it was another slower start to the period and the Canadiens once again looked strong, but this time they were rewarded for their effort as Zachary Bolduc finally put one in the goal column for the first time in 31 games since before Christmas on December 23rd of last year. And this one was not getting called back for offsides. Bolduc gathered a pass from Jake Evans, worked towards the net, and buried one short side on Jet Greaves, just like Jaden Struble did in the first period, and it gave the Canadiens their second lead of the game. A really nice goal for Bolduc, especially to finally get that monkey off his back. It's his second point of the game, and he's been playing so much better of late. Joel Veleno then got implicated physically with 2 big hits, while the Canadiens continued to play a very strong game after starting this one off so poorly. They did really well shutting things down and giving the Jackets a really hard time generating anything dangerous. They made the Blue Jackets look like the Blue Jackets. They really locked things down defensively, and before you knew it, there were fewer than 9 minutes to play and the Jackets had yet to generate a legitimate scoring chance in this period. Now as time wound down, Columbus did start to look a little bit more threatening, finally directing a few shots on target that Dobes had to be sharp to stop. Werenski had a really dangerous look, but the real highlight here was Boone Jenner taking a run at Jakub Dobes. He got called for the obvious goalie interference and put the Canadiens on the man advantage for the second time in the game. This was a massive opportunity for the Canadiens to ice this one and not risk the perils of 5-on-6 hockey. The first unit spent a ton of time in the offensive zone and they attempted numerous cross-ice passes, but many of them were just tipped or deflected off course at the very last moment. Suzuki finally pulled the trigger on one shot, but it didn't beat Graves, so Marty St. Louis ended up calling his timeout to give the first unit a bit of a rest and to reset for the second half of the power play. Lane Hudson then went end-to-end and tried to beat Jet Greaves' short side. He couldn't do it. Then Cole Caulfield was robbed not once but twice in close by Greaves, as the first unit really did everything but score on that power play. The Jackets were left with 3 minutes to work with to try to tie this one up. And after a few mad scrambles in front of the Habs net, the Jackets pulled Greaves with 1 minute and 23 seconds to go. Now a shot by Adam Fantilli managed to squeeze through Jakub Dobes and begin to trickle towards the goal line. Mason Marchment got his stick on that loose puck, but put it just wide on what was definitely Columbus's best chance of the third period. It didn't go in and Montreal held on for the final seconds. They pulled it off. It was another game, another win, and another huge performance by Jakub Dobes. A save percentage over .950 in this game and a single goal against. Paired with the other results in the Eastern Conference tonight, this win was just massive. The Islanders won, the Penguins won, the Flyers won, the Senators got a point, the Lightning got a point. Montreal had to have these 2 points to keep pace with everyone chasing them, and they managed to get them against a very strong opponent, one of the hottest teams in the NHL in the Columbus Blue Jackets. Anyway, you guys, that's going to be it for me. If you made it to the end of the video, please consider giving us a like and a subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and have a great night, guys.
Nice play, Bills, at the end. Good job, boys. We'll get it done at home. Let's keep it going on the road. Wow.